Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. Ag groups all over the state are meeting this time of the year, and this week we're going to have a couple reports. We're in Manhattan with the Kansas Farm Bureau. We'll talk with Dale Moore, the new Executive Vice President of AFBF. He is a native of the Copeland, Kansas area. Also, the KLA met recently in Wichita. Reeve, a Garden City cattle feeder, is the outgoing president of the KLA. We'll get the state of the beef industry in the state of Kansas right now. Also, reports from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and even more from Kansas Farm Bureau, and our weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Advisors. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com. One of the groups meeting this past week, the Kansas Farm Bureau, and their annual event took place in Manhattan, and they kicked off a century of service to Kansas farm families with their 100th annual meeting. And one of the special speakers, Dale Moore, a native of Southwest Kansas, we told him, welcome home.
This is a pleasure. You know, I get to virtually, and you've made this possible for me a few times, get to virtually travel home. Well, the Centennial Celebration, get to come home and be part of this celebration and just kind of get my feet in some Kansas dirt. You know, that makes a big difference.
Let's talk about what's going on in D.C. It seems like it's the session that won't end. Some things we can control, some things we can't control. And so what are you hearing? Will we get this farm bill done?
We're going to get this farm bill done. You know, we've got great leadership. Kansas got, you know, certainly Pat Roberts, first man to chair both the House and Senate Ag Committees in the history of this country. He's moving this farm bill through. Dr. Marshall sitting on the House Agriculture Committee. And you certainly got Senator Moran, who covers that ag appropriations and covering that the appropriation side of this, so it all kind of pulls together. We've been celebrating the life and service of George Herbert Walker Bush, our 41st president. So that's kind of thrown the schedule off a bit this past week, but we're hoping that you know, Congress, thankfully, and the president, thankfully, responded in the way they should. We observed and memorialized President Bush. Now we get to move on, and hopefully we'll catch up. You know, soon get the details out on the farm bill so that we can, at the grassroots level on up, get to work, and hopefully help Chairman Roberts and Chairman Conaway on the House side get this farm bill done, and importantly, get a budget bill done. Something, you know, Senator Moran's working on. We don't need the government shutting down. That does not help anybody. So those two kind of key things coming together, plus continuing to smile and hope and see a little bit of sunshine fall down on the trade side.
Hi, I'm Sue Schulte with Kansas Corn, and here's what's going on with the Kansas Corn Commission. The Commission invests checkoff funds into market development, education, research, and promotion efforts. Here's an update on Kansas Corn's innovative outreach programs. Kansas Corn has several outreach programs that focus on K-12 students and teachers, college students, and young growers. Our innovative Kansas Corn STEM education program offers curriculum, classroom materials, and workshops for elementary through high school teachers. Focusing on science and STEM education, Kansas Corn STEM teaches science through the lens of corn. In addition to providing grade-level lessons exploring topics like corn, biotechnology, and ethanol, we also provide lab equipment and other materials teachers need to teach the lessons. Kansas Corn provides programs for college students interested in careers in the corn industry. We have a comprehensive program for college students to learn about careers in corn and agriculture, a collegiate academy for students looking for additional career development, a scholarship program, and special student rate for KCGA membership, all with the goal of helping young people understand how their careers can fit into agriculture. Our Kansas Corn Corps Young Farmer Program provides professional development opportunities to young growers to help them build their careers on the farm and in agriculture, and to build networks with other farmers and ag professionals. Find out more by following Kansas Corn on social media or by visiting our website at kscorn.com.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web, oldeseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. More at ksgrainsorghum.org. Well, joining us now is Reeve, who is the now outgoing president of the Kansas Livestock Association. We catch up with him at the annual meeting in Wichita. Lee, here we are already. About a year ago this time, we talked to you looking forward to the year, and now things have wrapped up. And I guess first, let's talk about how everything went the last 12 months. Did you get everything accomplished you wanted?
Well, a lot of times getting things accomplished is being a little lucky, and I think one of the things we've been lucky with is that we rely a lot on exports in the beef industry, and they've pretty well left beef alone on implementing exports around the world. So that's really helped our market and helped our volume. I mean, we're selling over 10% of our product, around the world, and some of them are the cuts that we don't really have good demand for here. So we need those markets, and this is a very perishable product, and it comes every day, and we have to move it every day. So that was a pleasant surprise, because in some industries it wasn't that way.
So as we look at the state of the beef industry, the cattle industry in Kansas, I guess either what kind of a grade would you give it, or as far as a strength or a number? Can you put a kind of a number to it?
Well, I think from profitability, and the trouble is in the beef industry is you get pulled into what's happened to the rest of agriculture pretty fast. But and we're related a lot in Kansas to the kind of weather we had. We had really pretty much good weather, especially in western Kansas, and good rains, good crops. For the farmers, the prices weren't as good as they'd like, but we have a lot of volume, so that was good. The cattle feeding industry in Kansas is actually increasing. We're increasing in numbers, and there's some yards that are expanding. So yeah, it's pretty vigorous out there. So it's been a good year.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. And Agview.net, covering news and views in the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt. Reliable and relevant, Agview.net.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Talking with Lee Reeve, a cattle feeder from Garden City and outgoing president of the Kansas Livestock Association. Lee, one of the things that you do as a KLA president is spend a lot of time in D.C., and at the time we're interviewing right now, the Farm Bill looks like it's going to be completed. A couple of issues pretty important to cattlemen that hopefully are included in that final version.
Yeah. You know, we really need the foot and mouth vaccine part of that bill put through, because you know we haven't had a foot and mouth outbreak in the United States since 1929. But if we ever get one, it will be devastating for our industry. So this is just security that we need, and it's in the Farm Bill, and it just needs to be implemented. And then I think there's some other.
Well, conservation, yeah, absolutely. That's been important, yeah. You know, in trying to make sure that the programs that cattle producers use are vital to the overall bottom line to them.
And the thing that's really helped us, and has helped us for decades, is having Senator Roberts there, because he's, he understands this Farm Bill and understands, you know, where it came from and who the players are, but basically what we need and what we need in Kansas and what the country needs. And as agriculture seems to get, you know, smaller, I mean, with less people, then we need good advocates like him, as well as everybody else from Kansas too. I mean, we've got good advocates for us.
You spend a lot of time also in D.C. as president of the Kansas Livestock Association. Talk about that impact that when those cattle producers, all those cowboy hats, kind of storm the hill, as we say, and you know, not only those that maybe represent beef states, but others take notice when groups like the KLA come to Washington.
That's right. That was something that was kind of a pleasant surprise to me. Is I've been in Washington, you know, numerous times, but you know, a little bit different focus this time. And you really picked up on the credibility that our industry has in Washington. And they're just real people with real issues, and they're not trying to get something that they don't deserve or need, and that comes through.
One of the things that they're still working on that I know not only KLA but the national, you know, NCBA has lab cultured or fake meat. That's going to be something that's going to be ongoing to try to make sure that, you know, people realize meat is meat. It's grown in the feedlot and in the pastures.
That's right. Well, you know, we've had you know, beef has been a favorite for generations, and we've had a lot of kind of copycats and extenders, or whatever you want to call them, come down the pike for years, and they'll make a little bit of an impact. But we still have to, at the end of the day, we have to remember that this is the king product, and if if they want to produce a product like that, we expect it to be regulated the same as what we're regulated. I mean, it's a free country; they can do, what they want, and we're more than glad to put our product up against anybody.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
The Women Managing the Farm Conference will be held on February 7th and 8th, 2019 in Manhattan, Kansas. Since 2005, this event has been bringing together women farmers, rural business leaders, and landowners. The Women Managing the Farm Conference provides a supportive setting in which women can develop the skills, resources, and knowledge needed for success in a competitive agricultural environment. Conference sessions are designed to keep women up to date on the latest advancements in agriculture and thriving within their rural communities. During the two-day conference, attendees select from presentations covering many topics, including farm finances, relationships and health, agricultural and estate law, crop production and marketing, management, and more. Attendees also choose networking sessions tailored to the different roles women hold, such as agricultural partners and helpers, independent producers, absentee landowners, ag industry career women, and business managers. Optional pre-conference workshops are offered on Wednesday, February 6th, which include sessions about precision agriculture and technology, viticulture and enology, as well as introductory and advanced sessions on QuickBooks. The 2019 conference will open Thursday morning with a presentation by Dr. Jason Lusk, a food and agricultural economist who studies what we eat and why we eat it. Other keynoters include attorney Stacy Seibel, who presents on estate planning law, K-State's Michael Taylor, who will discuss navigating negotiations, and Amanda Friend, a third-generation family farmer, who will share funny, quirky, frustrating, and heartfelt stories from the family's table. Registration for the conference is available at womenmanagingthefarm.com with an early bird rate of $140 available through December 14th.
My name's Joe Newland. I'm the 3rd District Director from Southeast Kansas. And with Kansas Farm Bureau, I get to travel around to 10 different counties in our area and visit with the counties of what Farm Bureau members think of what we do and what actually Farm Bureau means to them. I think probably the biggest concern is on the legislative side, the policy side more directly, and so that we want to make sure our members are their voices are heard and what affects their life every day. Our members want that, and they know that they don't have the time to spend in Topeka or DC, and so they depend on an organization like ours. And since we are the largest general farm organization in the state, I think that voice resonates with them. I think that's what sets us apart, from other farm organizations. Our Vote FBF process starts at the grassroots level with each county. So, each county promotes and discusses, determines which candidate most helps them, and so with that you can make your recommendation then to the state level.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil. And the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
USDA Undersecretary for Marketing and Regulatory Programs Greg Ibaugh recently was in Great Bend for a meeting with collaborators and stakeholders of the Cattle Trace Pilot Project for disease traceability. USDA is a partner in the project, which will test an end-to-end cattle traceability system in Kansas. Cattle Trace Board Chairman Brandon Deppenbush told Ibaugh and more than 40 ranchers, livestock auction owners, cattle feeders, packers, and partners that more than 31,500 tags have been distributed through the program. That represents a portion of the 55,000 total ultra-high-frequency tags to be distributed as part of the 2-year pilot. Deppenbush said tag readers have been installed at all partner livestock markets and feed yards. As tagged cattle move through the supply chain, the minimal data necessary for disease traceability will be captured and maintained by a secure third-party database. The data will be used by cattle trace organizers to conduct mock tracebacks testing the infrastructure's effectiveness. USDA outlined overarching goals for advancing animal disease traceability in September. Each of USDA's goals aligns with the basic framework and implementation protocol of the Cattle Trace Pilot Project. Cattle Trace is a public-private partnership including KLA, Kansas State University, the Kansas Department of Agriculture, USDA, and private sector individuals from the cattle and beef supply chain.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919, kfb.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat, online kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn, online kscorn.com. Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device, news and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking Agview on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow Agview News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
Good morning. I'm Eric Osterhaus with Paragon Advisors. Well, the much-anticipated G20 summit has come and gone, and while no final solution has been arrived upon, both sides have taken the first small steps towards perhaps resolving our trade differences. The markets reacted positively to this news, although a little more cautiously than maybe what some had hoped. Ultimately, the meeting resulted in a truce being called and gives both sides another 90 days to negotiate. This gives China a reprieve from additional U.S. tariffs being implemented in January and gives the U.S. an opportunity to ship to China a as yet unknown amount of U.S. grain. The market that has the most at stake is obviously the soybean complex. We feel that if we have some actual export sales to China occur in the next few weeks, then we can see our futures move higher. However, we also feel that after the initial exuberance, the market's likely going to move on to the supply and demand dynamics and realize that despite the change in tone, we aren't going to run out of soybeans anytime soon. This may cause beans to fall back and look for that new normal to trade from. In other words, we hope to see some follow through to the upside, but feel like it likely needs to be sold, at least until some other headline occurs. We feel that corn is really just a follower at this point. We have solid demand, and we've seen this reflected in basis firming up post-harvest, but we feel that it would be difficult for corn to break out of our longer-term trading range without a sustained move higher in the soybean market. Moving to wheat, the longer-term story still seems to be one of cautious optimism. We still have a burdensome world supply story, but that story's already been told. As always, though, if we see rallies and you see ducks in the air in the grain market, don't just stare at it too long. Make sure that you get a few of those ducks in the bag. As always, if you have questions on this market or any market, give us a call at 888-452-8751. Have a productive day.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com. Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking Agview on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow Agview News, a reliable and relevant source. Agview.net. That's our show this week. Coming up in the next few weeks, more reports from newsmakers and maybe even your neighbor that's involved in some of the Kansas agricultural organizations. Be social with us online, kansasagreport.net, or on Facebook and Twitter. The show is also in podcast form, castbox.fm. Search Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching the Kansas Ag Report. We'll see you next week.